Hello everyone, it's Evan from the Trade Risk on Sunday, June 7th here with a market update. We're going to look at the indices super quick and then we're going to get into some trade ideas for the week coming up. Should be a pretty short video. Just want to look at some actionable trade ideas. But first, let's look at the SPY here. And you can see last week we did get that breakdown below this 210.50 area of support. You can see, look at all of the tails here that the bulls buyers kind of stepped up and bought this market, supported this market in this zone primarily last week. And then on Thursday, we definitively broke below it. And then Friday, just kind of a flat sideways session for the S&P 500. So look at a weekly chart here. You can see, you know, the trend is still higher. The fast moving average is still rising. You can see we're coming back into the 20 EMA. This is on the weekly chart now. And you know, it's tough to be too bearish on this action right here looking at this chart. I mean, notice you can, and this shouldn't be surprise, you know, these candles as of the past 6 months, 7 months, they're more overlapping. The trend is higher, but it's just a grind higher. So it's not a super fast uptrend, kind of like we saw here in 2014. You can see in 2015 and the end of 14, you can see how this trend has slowly kind of momentum and it's you know, overall urgency to rise higher has slowed a little bit. So and a big picture, that's what we're looking at, and that should be nothing new. But I just want to keep things contextually, you know, in perspective here, that the longer term uptrends are very much intact, but you can see we're just back into this range now, which puts us into sort of a wait and see, or perhaps more chop ahead, you know, until this market really figures out what it wants to do. Ultimately, I mean, to get really bearish on this market, we'd have to start breaking 208, 2450. So those are the bigger levels on the downside. For now, it just puts me in a choppy chop kind of range right now where we are. If we look at the IWM, however, you can see there's been a lot more outperformance here recently in the small caps, which is very constructive. You can see this very nice candle that it put in on Friday, tested all the way down below 123.50, which had been a pretty significant level in the past, and it rallied, closed on the highs, 125.40, so over 2 points, or just about 2 points from the lows of the day. So quite a session in the small caps. You know, it'll be interesting to see if they are resuming the leadership role that they had in the beginning of the year. So that is definitely, this here is to the bull's point. We want to see if these can lead us higher. 126.25 on the upside is what we're looking at. And the Qs, you know, similar to the SPY, kind of a quiet sideways session. Probe down, I mean, a nice bounce off the lows for sure. Trying to hold on to this 109 area, which has acted as a pretty significant level in the past. So lower end of this range, let's see if the Qs can stabilize. Again, this one looks like it needs more time. Fast moving average is curling over a little bit. So again, looks like overall we're seeing some rotation. Biotechs and some sectors are picking up the slack. There's been a lot of weakness in utilities, so it's been some rotation, and ultimately it just looks like some sideways action for a lot of these indices and a lot of these names is kind of what the doctor ordered right now. So you know, take that as you will. There's still definitely opportunity to find in the market. We're going to go over some names here that look pretty good. First is CRM. This one looks pretty good. It's been holding high and tight. This nice large expansion bar to the upside here back on April 29th has still intact. It's been holding up. We had this, you know, little gap down here, but we're holding the top 50% of that, and this one looks good. Above 74.60 or so, just get a close with a little bit more momentum. Basically above 74 could put this one back in motion, so keep that one on watch. XRAY, this one a little bit choppy, but it's put in a nice base here on a longer term time frame. If you look at a weekly chart, you can see it had a nice impulse leg higher. It's been digesting that move, so 52.80 or so, $53. That one could get that one back in motion, especially on those weekly charts. It would look pretty good. PCTY. This one also been consolidating nicely, working off this big fast move from 27 all the way to almost 35. This hanging tight. Look for a close above 34, could get in motion. It's a new recent IPO. It's came public back in April of last year, so not a lot of price history here. It's at all-time highs. If you can get through this 34.20 zone, that one looks pretty good. Next is WBA. I know this has been on a lot of radars now. Had a real nice 5% up session on Friday, looking good. Again, this one's a recent IPO. Had a brilliant move here, basically this whole year. Opened up, came into the year at the mid 30s, and we're already at $80. So this has had quite the appreciation in just 5 months or so. So it's had a nice run. Looks like it wants to continue. Let's see if we get a close above 81.25. That one can continue its march higher. Next is YELP. This one's been a pain trade here for quite some time for the bulls, going all the way back to September of last year, where we kind of rolled over from these $85 levels. But it has started to base out nicely now. You can see, I know there's takeover chatter here, I believe, with this big expansion bar, recovering the earnings gap down. But it is holding up. So whatever the news is or the catalyst is, price action is staying pretty firm now. So I'd like to see this thing get a close above $49, see if it can kind of break out of this long-term downtrend that it's been in. But I like the formation here. Let's see if it gets some continuation, and YELP, and that one could look pretty good. And then finally, another recent IPO is BOX. This one came public earlier this year, and it's sort of been nothing but down and sideways for this IPO, but it looks like this bottoming formation might be finishing up here. It's held up pretty nice, had this big expansion bar here back on May 27th. Since then, it's given a little bit of it back, but it looks like it's trying to get going, especially with this past Friday session. So see if this can get above $17.80, $18. That one could be breaking out of a long-term base as well. So that one looks good to me. And that's it. That's all I have for today. So some trade ideas for the week. We went over the market, so hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, please, you know how to get a hold of me, either through my blog, thetraderist.com, or on StockTwits. And until next time, thanks for watching.